Hi, my name is Linda Cirulli-Burton, and welcome to this channel named Above the Battleground, ACIM. Above the Battleground is based on the teachings of a spiritual self-study path known as A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles since 1992, and recently have felt the urge to share some of the insights, some of the remarkable teachings that have impacted me, with the intention that it would go deeper inside me by sharing, and who knows, maybe even be of some benefit to you. So today I wanted to talk about kind of like evaluating our spiritual progress. And I call this the great undoing. But I have to tell you first that I did a lot of research and then I named it. It wasn't like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So, spiritual progress, the great undoing. So, the students of A Course in Miracles, as well as anyone who is on a spiritual path, it points to ask oneself, am I making any progress? How do I know if I'm making progress? Now, ACIM students have the same problems, as I've mentioned to you, that any other people on a spiritual path have. There's moments where we think we've really made great strides, okay? And then there's other times where you go, oh my gosh, I'm a mess, okay? I'm still a mess. Nothing seems to be happening. So I wanted to do a deeper dive into this to see if I could understand this better. Now, first, what I'd like to do is acknowledge an attorney named Jeff Childers, who has a blog called Coffee and COVID. And recently he tackled the issue of AI, or artificial intelligence, as it could be perhaps used in churches. Now, one of the things that he said actually made me smile out loud. So, he talked about fake virtual pastors who will become more and more lifelike until you can't tell the difference anymore. They'll be better pastors than human pastors. They'll always have time for you. They'll never get tired of hearing of your constant whining. They'll keep lovingly counseling you over and over for hours and hours, even though you never ever change. And I have to say that did make me smile. So then the Jesus in A Course in Miracles in chapter 2, something that he said to Helen Schuckman, the scribe, but really was intended for all of us. You are much too tolerant of mind wandering. And you know what? I liked hearing that. In fact, I love it. So basically, the purpose of A Course in Miracles is to come to a deep respect of the power of our minds. Are we to be prisoners in this world? Or are we instead going to consider ourselves students in a classroom so that we can find our way out? So, according to A Course in Miracles, to progress means to monitor. Monitor our unkindness. Monitor our judgments. And let me say, I've been very busy this morning doing exactly that. To know that this is no longer okay. I won't tolerate this. No longer okay for me to fragment the sonship, reinforce my separation from you, and absolutely choose unhappiness. It's no longer okay. And this, from watching a video with Ken Wapnick, really inspired me, re-inspired me. So what the mind does is, when it moves into judgment, when it moves into separation, it projects its own guilt, our own guilt, out there on anyone, anything that suits our fancy, right? This heavy burden of guilt cannot really be rectified if we don't choose a spiritual response, because all we do is try to get rid of it without dealing with it, and ideas don't leave their source. So it just bounces back to me. That's all that the boomerang does. I put it out on you. Hey, that lasts for a little while, and then, the realization that it's still in me. Remember, something that I like to repeat in every video. We live with the guilt of choosing to separate from the perfect wholeness and eternal love of God in order to have our individual identities, correct? I mean, this is the mythology of A Course in Miracles. And we live with it, the sin of defiling or taking away from God, the guilt that we did it, and then the fear of the punishment that we will get because we did that, all right? Now, to add to this, the Course says this, and this is very, very important. This comes from chapter 18, section 5, the happy dream. Some of your greatest advances you have judged as failures. In some of your deepest retreats, you have evaluated as success. Basically, ACIM is telling me that I really cannot assess my own progress, and that is in the hands of truly a higher power. The voice for God, the Holy Spirit, or Jesus and Jesus. Now, in the Q&A published by the Foundation for A Course in Miracles, I found question number 35 to be really, really interesting. And basically what the person is saying is, I've been at this, and it just seems like my mind is so noisy. It's just so noisy with all these thoughts that are really negative, judgmental. And I thought, oh my gosh, we all go through this. And, I was thinking that it's where we look at everything external as being the reason for the disruption of my peace. So I have a beloved brother who's fighting turbo cancer right now. I have someone in my apartment complex almost hit my car. Someone was very dismissive with me when I had what I thought was a really great idea. I felt like an outsider with a group of friends. So it's like I've got this all these things that are always percolating, to my own detriment, and certainly it would appear to be to the detriment of other elusive individuals out there. So what progress is that? I could ask myself. Unless we know that it's extremely possible that we are using the noise to block out the voice of the Holy Spirit. When I look at it like that, I can look and say, oh my gosh, I think that I really must be in some degree of terror, in terror of peace, in love, in union. I must be in terror because listen to all of the noise that's coming from this thought, that thought, another thought, all of them meshed together. I'm scared. That's what's going on. The ego of me is scared. So as we deepen our studies and our application, maybe we're making genuine progress when the noise gets even louder. Sounds crazy. The ego, and and as I was doing my reading, I really came to grips with this. When we monitor ourselves and when we watch for judgmental thoughts and thoughts that are special, or thoughts of hatred, all these kinds of thoughts, when we're monitoring them, we can bring them to the healing. And, as I said, with this particular Above the Battleground, the concept of going to that bench, taking these crazy, wild, noisy thoughts, putting them out there so that the Holy Spirit or Jesus can look at them with me. We'll look at them with non-judgment. We look at them with patience, with a sense of their illusory nature. I let the voice for God, the Holy Spirit, I let Jesus take away my guilt. Take it away so that I can hear the still small voice for God. But who thought that maybe the more tumultuous your thoughts are getting, or you go through periods of time where you think, oh my gosh, I'm so not peaceful, I'm so messed up, that maybe we're getting closer and closer and closer. And our ego minds are getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And I'm going to say that this is so very important for each of us. Please, not to give up. And I'm talking as much to myself as I am to anybody who could be hearing this. Not to give up. We are unable to judge our spiritual progress. We have to have faith in that as we do this with a degree of earnestness that maybe we haven't had before. When we don't tolerate all of this stuff, but we want to look at it because looking at it releases us. And maybe we have to look at the same thing several times. But it's not that it is the same thing so much as it is the guilt coming up so that it can be taken away. So I guess I'm here to say to me and you that when things are crazy in our thoughts, maybe we're making a lot of progress. So, the great undoing, taking away what separates me from you so that in my mind I can go back to the sensation of the one sonship with God the Father in the beauty of that. So thank you for joining me.